Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Does My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met at a training, and our secret sauce is that we and our partners became fast friends. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for couples therapy. If something you hear in this podcast stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com to leave a question of your own. Here's today's question.
Welcome back. I'm Jules.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Rebecca, and here's today's 2 questions. First one, why does my partner threaten to leave when we argue? And 2, why does my partner sleep in a separate bed and not talk to me when he's upset with me for weeks at a time?
Oh,
Weeks.
this is so rough.
Oh, it's so hard to even hear that.
Yeah.
Weeks at a time. My heart breaks for you, caller.
Yeah.
Listener.
Sweet. Yeah, exactly. Sweet one. This is not okay.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
This kind of the threatening the relationship, icing somebody out. And if you're a person who goes there, we're going to talk with the compassion we always have about why this may be happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm inviting a U-turn here. Because this is really, really painful. This is a great way to ruin a relationship. It's really, really hard. And if you're on the receiving end of this, oof. My heart's with you.
Yeah. Oh. It really is a great way to ruin a relationship. And if nothing else, if your partner doesn't leave your partner, if your partner doesn't leave you, who's icing them out, then your partner is probably leaving themselves in order to stay.
Yeah. And you can't, if you know how we did that series, if you haven't heard it, feel free to go back. Discord builds trust.
Really. I was just going to say the Discord
we did,
one. Mm-hmm.
That was those 2 mini-series ago.
This is one of those scenarios where you are eroding the potential trust that could come from the hard conversations. Because now I'm scared to do anything that's going to be challenging or bring up hard feelings. Because if I do,
you might get mad and leave.
You might get mad and leave or threaten to leave.
Right.
So now I can't speak my mind anymore. So the intimacy is going to start getting eroded. I just want to look at it practically for a minute. And how hard this is on relationships.
Because then I'm thinking, well, if I can't speak my mind because I'm afraid you're going to leave, then at some point you're going to stop even believing that I have a mind to speak. So this is very, very, very much like, I want to be explicit about this. We're definitely in a power over, power under scenario. There is no power with happening inside of this.
No. That's not a thing that's happening in this situation. And I have a ton of compassion for the one who is doing this as well, because I know it's probably coming from a pain point. I'm not trying to be accusatory or blamey. I just want us to face with deep awareness how detrimental this is for a relationship. Yeah. And this is a great question. Why is my partner doing stuff like this? So let's look into it. Well, it could be punishment or retaliation. Could be wanting to get back at you, right? So it could be like, it's not fair that you hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt you. So it's like a internal longing to like right the scales of hurt, so we're equally hurt, or show you how badly I'm hurting, or show you how serious I am. Right?
Yeah, I'm also wondering if it's a really weird way to get space.
Oh, it probably.
Yeah.
Not
weird is not the right word. I apologize.
Not a
It's
good
really
way.
not that weird. It's just not a good way.
Yeah.
It's not weird
not a
at
good
all.
way.
It's literally
It's
what
not-
the partner's doing.
It's just it's a way to get space that has a high cost.
High cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want
Which
to.
is-
I actually try to stay out of labeling good and bad and
Right.
what do I think you should do. I don't know. I don't live your life, but this is a high cost behavior.
Which is what you were saying when you were saying, I don't think you used the word compassion, but the pain that you can see in the person who's doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There must be a lot of pain to take that high cost.
And how that pain might track backwards.
What do you mean?
Right? Like,
Yeah.
there's historical pain there.
Oh, yeah.
There's, yeah.
Yeah, your partner may have seen people acting like this in their own childhood or earlier relationships. They may have had this done to them. This may be, sometimes I'll see it too when there's a reaction. So for some people who had really, really volatile homes, so the fighting was big and loud or even physical, in order to make sure they don't repeat that, they'll exit the situation.
Oh,
So
okay.
it could be coming from like a reaction internally to not wanting to repeat the even worse than this they saw. Right. So it may be coming actually in that way in a hope of preventing harm. That doesn't mean this is actually not creating harm, but trying to. That's a possibility. And I think we live in a retaliatory culture.
Yeah.
In a culture that justifies violence if you've been hurt first, that justifies some sort of like I get to get back at you now.
I mean, we do. We live in a culture that's built upon lawsuit after lawsuit, right? Like just.
I'm sorry. That yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to hear that just now, but yeah, holy moly.
It's true.
You don't like what I do? Okay, well, here's how I'm going to get you back. I'm going to use the power of the court. I'm going to, right? Like, or I'm going to use the power of threatening to leave you, or I'm going to use the power of sleeping in a separate bed and not talking to you for weeks.
Yeah. And this is retaliatory behavior.
Yeah.
And threatening behavior.
Yeah.
Or both.
So what do we do with it? Like how do we help the person who's asking the question?
Right.
With a U-turn here, right? Like I think, sweetie, this is really hard. I hope you're hearing that.
Yeah, I think you can, in a calmer moment, risk talking about it. It is possible if you do this, the same thing might happen. So you'd want to be prepared for that. And how are you going to take care of yourself if this thing happens, when this thing happens?
Yeah.
And I just want to slow us down for 1 second that if there's also violence in your relationship, even another level of caring for yourself and safety planning may be needed.
Right. Yeah, if there's anything physically threatening, we're hoping that you have a safe place to go and there are resources and communities all over wherever you are, and friends and therapists for you to reach out to. So if that's what's going on, we're supporting you in addressing that and finding as much safety as you can. And we know leaving's complicated. The other thing, though, is that let's assume in this scenario, because nobody said anything about that, that's not part of it. Nobody's feeling physically threatened.
Mhm.
Let's even imagine you're not feeling financially threatened. Though sometimes when threatening to leave, that's part of it, because there's a financial threat there. So I want to acknowledge that's a possibility. And let's imagine that's not the case here. So it's very possible that if you bring it up, the same thing's going to go down.
Another argument.
Right? Totally. That leads to this.
And they're going to threaten to leave.
Yeah, this is possible. So you'd want to be saying a full yes to this before you tried this move. Whether you did it in writing, that's possible. You can put a little space between if you write it down. But another option is like during a calm moment, you name this thing, you name it behaviorally short. And then you ask your partner, what are you hoping for? What are you longing for when this thing is happening? This can be a way of finding out for your partner, maybe their why, but why is my partner doing this? And ask them from that space, are they willing to have a conversation about creating a different way of dealing with conflict so that this doesn't happen? But you'd probably want to be ready to say, this isn't okay for me. This is how it affects me. That may be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
And this is also a time when I'd recommend going into somebody. This behavior
therapy. It's really, this is really hard behavior. And I think
weeks. I can't get over that. Go on, Rebecca. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to seek support here, right? Whether it's couples therapy, whether it's a relationship workshop, whatever the thing is, I think this might be something you can't do by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. This feels like it's going to need support from somebody outside. If it's pretty egregious, it happens a lot. If it's egregious enough that when I say egregious, what I mean is most of the time when we argue, you threaten to leave, or once or twice a year, you're sleeping in a different room and then not talking to me for weeks. It's even with the weeks, even once. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And I just want to normalize, if you feel like it's big, you're not being nutty, it's totally huge.
Yeah.
So this is one, and you can probably tell from the tone of this episode. We're taking this actually really seriously. This is like, whoa, you may need help with this one.
Yeah.
So this would be one I'd start reaching out for help with.
Because I'm also hearing in both of these questions a repetitious nature. Like this hasn't happened once.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something you're listening to this podcast and you do this. Hey, this is a moment to U-turn and be curious about one, where does it come from for you? What are you hoping for? And have you looked at the cost of this to your relationship?
Yeah.
And I understand it may be coming from fear or from big pain. I'm not trying to be blamey. I just want us to face the cost. And then if this is happening to you, ouch. And this may be one where you can try in the way we talked about, but you may need some help with this one. A workshop or a therapist.
I have another theoretical, hypothetical answer for the why does my partner threaten to leave when we argue? I just found myself thinking that if there's a very idealistic view of relationships and never arguing or perfectionism in relationships or something like that, I'm wondering if the partner thinks we don't belong together anyway. This isn't the right relationship. Something is wrong here because of the argument.
Great.
So
Great
I'm
possibility.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying, since the question is, why does my partner do this? I wonder if that's part of the why.
Could be totally
because the partner
part of the
thinks
why.
this is a doomed relationship or this is a failing relationship because we're not supposed to argue, which I would also challenge. Depends on the argument. I'm not saying verbal abuse and all that is okay. I am saying people are going to argue.
Yes.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yes, and it's totally okay to like question your life choices and question, is this relationship going where I want it to go? Is it feeling okay?
Mm-hmm.
That's all okay. What's not
Absolutely.
okay is just withdrawing and not letting your partner in on what's happening, right? So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
like
Or by
that,
threatening
Verbalize
to
that.
leave
right? That's
when you fight.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because then you're setting up a
Mhm.
dynamic where like your partner is now like unable
Right.
to meet you as another partner inside of the relationship. You are
Mhm.
basically in relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Whether
Or you're
you're
going to
leaving
be
or
soon.
you're staying,
Mhm.
well, whether you leave or you stay, right? If you have a
Mhm.
dynamic where your partner's afraid that you're going to leave,
Mhm.
you're basically in relationship with yourself.
Mhm.
Even when
Yeah.
you're with them, you're not with them. They're not there anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we hope you, if this is you, if you're on either side of this, we hope you get some help.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sending so much care your way.
Take good care, you all. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at one of our workshops. You'll find our next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you can ask us your questions?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.
And here are some gratitudes. Thanks to Al Huberman, our sound editor and podcast production magic maker.
Thanks to every one of you who has joined us for our workshops in the past. We've learned so much from all of you.
And thanks to everyone who's reviewed the show on Apple Podcasts. Your reviews help others to find the show.
Take care of each other best you can.
See you next time.